The evening was supposed to be perfect. A luxury restaurant filled with crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and guests dressed in the finest clothes. At the center table sat Mr. Harrington, a billionaire known for his cold heart and arrogance. He had mocked waiters, belittled staff, and made sure everyone knew he was the richest man in the room. But in just one moment, all of that power vanished. The waiter returned with the bill, his voice trembling. "Sir, your card has been declined." The words sliced through the air like a blade. Guests turned, shocked. Some smirked, others gasped. The man who once bragged about wealth was now frozen, humiliated. Harrington's face turned red. "Run it again," he barked. "I tried, sir," the waiter whispered. "Twice." Laughter rippled across the restaurant. Phones slipped out of purses, ready to capture the downfall of a man who had made so many enemies. His bride-to-be shifted uncomfortably, embarrassed. Even his so-called friends leaned back, enjoying the spectacle. For the first time in years, the billionaire felt small. And then, from the corner of the room, a soft child's voice broke the silence. "Don't worry, mister. I can pay for you." Every head turned. Standing near the wall was a little black girl, no more than 8 years old. She wore a faded yellow dress, her braids tied with ribbons that had long lost their shine. She clutched a tiny purse in her small hands, one clearly too fragile to hold anything of real value. The room went silent. Some laughed, others scoffed. "How can a child pay for him?" someone whispered. But the girl did not flinch. Her big brown eyes shone with determination. Harrington stared at her, stunned. His pride screamed to push her away, but something in her gaze froze him in place. Because hidden behind that innocent offer was a secret that would soon shake his entire world. The guests leaned closer, waiting. Would the billionaire accept help from a child who had nothing? The choice he made now would change both their lives forever. The restaurant was frozen, every eye locked on the little girl in the yellow dress. Her tiny purse dangled from her hand as if it held treasure, though everyone knew it could not possibly cover a billionaire's bill. Still, her voice carried more courage than the laughter of the crowd. "I can help," she said again, stepping closer. Harrington scoffed, but his voice cracked. "Little girl, do you have any idea who I am?" Her big brown eyes met his without fear. "Yes. You are the man everyone is laughing at." The words struck harder than the whispers around the room. Gasps echoed. Some guests chuckled nervously, others leaned closer. Harrington slammed his fist on the table. "Enough of this joke," he barked. But even as he tried to regain control, his hands trembled. He could not shake the humiliation burning inside him. The waiter cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, if she wishes to." "Silence." Harrington snapped. He glared at the child. "Why would you embarrass yourself for a stranger?" Her little hands tightened around the purse. "Because mommy says nobody should feel ashamed for needing help. Even rich men." The restaurant fell into a deeper silence. For the first time, the billionaire had no reply. The girl opened her purse. A few coins clinked softly against the leather, along with a folded bill. She poured them onto the table, her small fingers arranging them carefully. Gasps rippled again. Some guests looked away in shame, others teared up. The sight of a child giving away her little savings to help a man drowning in pride was almost too much to bear. Harrington stared at the coins, his throat tight. His world of yachts, mansions, and power had never looked smaller than in that moment. But pride battled in his chest. He wanted to shout, to push her away. Yet, deep inside, he felt something he had not felt in years. A crack in his armor. Before he could speak, the girl tilted her head and asked softly, "Why are you so angry, mister? Is it because you are scared?" The question shattered him. For a moment, he felt stripped bare. And he realized, this child saw through him more than any business rival ever had. Gasps filled the air again. The billionaire's lips parted to reply. But just then, the restaurant doors opened. A woman rushed in, her face pale with worry. She locked eyes on the little girl. "Zara," she cried. "What are you doing?" The room spun again. Whispers erupted. And Harrington froze, staring at the woman. Because he knew that face. A face from his past. The little girl gasped, "Mommy," and ran into the woman's arms. The restaurant buzzed with whispers, but Harrington felt like the room had shrunk to just the three of them. His breath caught. That woman, no, it could not be. Not after all these years. "Amara," he whispered. Her eyes hardened the instant she heard his voice. She pulled her daughter close, shielding her as if from a storm. "Do not say my name." The crowd exchanged puzzled glances. Suddenly, the spectacle of a declined card had turned into something far more personal. Harrington rose slowly, his powerful frame trembling like a man facing judgment. I thought you moved away. That I would never." "You thought wrong," she snapped. Her voice carried the weight of old wounds, sharp enough to silence the entire restaurant. "I promised myself if I ever saw you again, I would not waste a single word on you. But here you are, exposed before the world. And still full of pride. The billionaire staggered, her words cutting deeper than the humiliation of his card. He tried to speak, but she turned away, focusing only on her daughter. Zara, why did you do this? Amara asked, her voice trembling. She needed help, Zara whispered innocently. His card did not work, and everyone laughed. I wanted him to smile again. Tears pricked Amara's eyes. She cupped her daughter's face. My brave girl, always giving, even when we have so little. The guests shifted uncomfortably. They had mocked a child's kindness, unaware of the depth behind it. But Harrington could not breathe. His past, his shame, his mistakes, it all came flooding back. Years ago, he had walked away from Amara, leaving her to face the storm of life alone. He had told himself it was necessary, that business came first. But seeing her now, her strength, her daughter's courage, he realized what he had truly lost. And then came the question that froze his blood. One of the guests, emboldened by curiosity, asked, Mr. Harrington, who is she to you? The billionaire's lips trembled. He lowered his head, his pride crumbling in front of the entire room. She is, his voice cracked. The only woman I ever loved. The restaurant gasped. Some jaws dropped. Others leaned forward, unable to believe what they were hearing. Amara's eyes glistened with both fury and sorrow. Love, she whispered bitterly. You call it love when you abandoned me. When you chose power over family. Zara clutched her mother's hand, confused, her innocent eyes darting between them. Mommy, what does he mean? The room fell deathly silent. Amara's lips pressed into a thin line. She had kept the truth hidden for years. But now, under the weight of her daughter's gaze, she could no longer run. With a trembling breath, she turned to Zara and said words that shook the billionaire to his core. Zara, he is your father. Gasps echoed like thunder. Harrington's knees nearly buckled. The child he had just mocked, the little girl who offered him her last coins, was his own daughter. The room erupted in stunned whispers, every guest hanging on what would happen next. And for the first time in his life, the billionaire wept. The mighty billionaire stood trembling, tears streaming down his face. The crowd that once mocked him now watched in stunned silence. Harrington's voice cracked as he whispered, My daughter. Zara tilted her head, innocent eyes wide. You are, my daddy. The question pierced the air like lightning. Amara's breath hitched. She wanted to shield her child from pain, but the truth had already been unleashed. Yes, Harrington said, falling to his knees before her. His expensive suit brushed against the floor as if he were shedding his pride. Yes, Zara. I am your father. And I am so sorry. Sorry for every day I was not there. Sorry for every tear your mother shed alone. Sorry for not being the men you both deserved. Zara glanced at her mother, unsure. Amara's eyes were fierce, holding back years of betrayal. Do not play the victim now, Harrington. You chose your empire. You chose your wealth. And in doing so, you abandoned us. The room buzzed with tension. Guests shifted uneasily, guilt flooding their faces. They had mocked a woman and her child, never realizing the truth that bound them all together. Harrington lowered his head, his pride shattered. You are right, Amara. I chose wrong. And for years, I told myself it was too late to fix it. But tonight, your daughter reminded me what true wealth is. Kindness. Courage. Family. His eyes, once cold and sharp, now shone with raw humility. If you never forgive me, I will accept it. But I beg you, do not let Zara grow up thinking she was never loved. Because I do love her. With everything I am. Amara's hands trembled as she pulled Zara closer. The child, however, slipped from her embrace and walked toward Harrington. Her tiny hands touched his tear-stained cheeks. Daddy, I forgive you. The billionaire sobbed openly, clutching her as if he would never let go again. The entire restaurant erupted into tears. Strangers who once laughed now clapped softly, some whispering prayers. But Amara remained still, her heart a battlefield of love and anger. Finally, she spoke, her voice breaking. Words are not enough, Harrington. Prove it. Prove to Zara that you are not the men who left us. He stood slowly, holding Zara's hand. Then from this moment forward, every choice I make will be for her. Not for business, not for pride, but for the family I should have cherished all along. Amara's walls cracked, tears spilling down her face. For years she carried the weight alone, and now, though scarred, she saw a man who had finally broken free of his arrogance. She whispered, do not fail her again. I will not, he vowed. The three of them stood together, a broken family beginning to heal under the watchful eyes of a humbled crowd. What had started as humiliation ended as transformation. And as they walked out of the restaurant hand in hand, whispers followed. True wealth is not in what you own, but in who you love. The billionaire had lost everything that night, his pride, his image, his false strength, but in return, he gained what mattered most.